important. One is to understand people. And to understand people and make them understand you, you need to be an effective communicator. Especially in India, where 70% of people do not have access to healthcare and cannot afford it. You can't run an organization without knowing finances, without knowing human resource.
Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast series by World Development Corporation. I am Rajesh Joshi, uncovering some great achievements and contributions of unsung heroes inspiring others. In this episode, we shall go through the success journey of Dr. Chandy and uncover some major decisions leading him up to it. He has nearly 3 decades of experience, which he has dedicated to Christian Medical College and is currently the Chief Medical Officer at ITC India. I'm all set to get various inputs from you, Dr. Chandy. We welcome you on this show.
Thank you, Rajesh, and good to be with you.
Thank you, sir. To start this conversation, Dr. Chandy, holding a C-level designation at a big Indian conglomerate is a massive achievement. And I would surely love to know how you managed to have such an accomplishment.
Thank you, Rajesh. Good question to start off with. It's an unexpected role if you look at my background as a physician in a not-for-profit organization for nearly 3.5 decades.
Right, sir.
But I suppose my later leadership roles in my medical institution, from a pure clinician to a partial administrator and then into a full leadership role, invited me to learn a lot of new things in the leadership role. And I suppose that profile of leading a large organization of nearly 10,000 employees with a full spectrum of academic, teaching, clinical, and research may have been the reason why I was invited into this role, which is a conglomerate, business conglomerate, who cast a vision into creating a pathway into social medical services as well. So with due diligence and the interviews, they decided to invite me into this role, which I'm privileged to be at. And I'm doing my best to fulfill their expectations of being a clinician leader in this very successful and well-known business house, ITC.
Wow, I'm sure you are definitely an asset to the organization, sir. No doubts about that. Sorry, sir. In your service of nearly 3 decades to Christian Medical College, you've held numerous changes in roles across departments. So how did you plan all these professional step-ups?
So honestly speaking, it was not planned that way, but it evolved as we went through our journey of being in this institution. So it began with small roles into niche areas where, as a practice in our institution, young doctors are invited to innovate and create and take part in the overall governance of the institution. That's the pattern that the institution follows.
Okay.
So way back in 2003 or 4, I stepped into a small role, which was in a niche area of developing outreach and outpatients in this large hospital. And thereafter, maybe depending on the needs of the institution, we stepped out from there into a slightly bigger role, into the academic dimension as being the vice principal of human resource development, medical students, and identifying potential leaders for the future.
Okay.
And thereafter, as luck would have it, or as things evolved for me, I was invited with due processes into being a candidate to be the CEO of the institution, and I stepped into the director's role for Christian Medical College, Vellore. Was appointed in 2012 for a period of 5 years till about 2017. So to put it into a nutshell, it was a journey that took you from a pure clinician's role into managerial leadership, where you deal with ground level activities in support of the administration, into gradually evolving more leadership roles. And as a director, it is very less of managerial, but more of leadership role, which is directional in nature.
Right, right.
That was for a full period of 5 years, after which I stepped into, as I mentioned before, into the current role that I'm in another organization.
Right.
So that is how it evolved for me.
Wow, wow, super. I appreciate the way you have planned your career journey at every leg, sir. You've been honored with speakerships at various national and international conferences. This reflects your abilities beyond your work role. So, what is the key to your success that reflects in every aspect of your professionalism?
So I think that's a good question. I think I would put it in a way that has been effective for me. Very early in the small managerial roles that I undertook,
Mhm.
I realized the importance of three things different from my earlier practice. As a clinician, you only see the patient and finish your work and go off. But when you step into leadership and managership, you realize that three things are very important. One is to understand people. And to understand people and make them understand you, you need to be an effective communicator, which means that you must communicate uh, on a one-to-one basis, as well as be a good public speaker.
Right.
So these are skills that I gradually picked up over many years by looking at seniors and some of my mentors who were into that role of being good speakers, good communicators, and being able to understand people. And that found its full fruition in the final role as a director, where it is all about that, less of processes and more of trying to understand people, the nuanced nature of directorial leadership. So these are the three things that I understood. Of course, I must mention that along the journey, I found it necessary to take a full management course online with BITS Pilani.
Mhm.
And that was my personal desire to understand the nuts and bolts of leadership. You can't run an organization without knowing finances, without knowing human resource. You have to know quantitative management. You've got to be aware of the legal regulatory framework that governs institutions, so on and so forth. So it was necessary for me to become abreast with what was needed. And I registered for an online course, and I got a degree in hospital and health systems management as well. So that was an addition, a supplement to this whole journey of leadership. So you need knowledge, you need skill, and you need some fine skills, which is basically communication and people orientation.
Amazing, Dr. Chandy. The best part, what I would really look at to summarize what you have said, and if I'm right here, the most important thing is understanding the value of people as a resource and the need to communicate with them, which I believe generally is either the make or break of being a leader or being a successful leader, if I may say so. And the most important part is, even at that career juncture, you decided to upskill yourself by enrolling into an online platform, online MBA degree. And that's really really inspiring, because acquiring knowledge as a process, if it doesn't stop for a leader, automatically your entire team also starts looking up to you, that he is not stopped acquiring knowledge, so why should I? And immediately they would rather start listening to you with much more respect, if I'm not wrong.
You're right. It gives you more credibility, and the credibility comes from the fact that you are a hybrid between 3 decades of clinical experience, which is again largely about people management. And then you also have the necessary domain skills coming from a degree in management. So that complements your credibility to communicate and to do decision making, change directions, manage change management. So I found that this combination has worked well for me, and it's been good.
Obviously, you love the medical field and have kept up with all the industry dynamics. Do you foresee tremendous changes in the field with the newer technologies?
Oh, yes, undoubtedly. We are in the phase of rapid transition from what is a product of maybe 100 years of very conservative, non-technological or semi-technological era into a rapidly changing era of technology support, gadgetry, and artificial intelligence. So there's no doubt that these three new columns of new understanding, new expertise will impact healthcare. In fact, it has impacted healthcare in a big way already in the post-COVID era. However, coming from a stable of very clinical, patient-oriented, conservative school of medical services from where I come from, one of the important things is not to forget that at the end of the day, the patient is a person.
Right.
So we might have an array of technology-enabled gadgets and artificial intelligence. But I can tell you from my experience that a person who is in pain, he's also financially not sound. He is in a turbulence of sorts. What he looks for is that human doctor who is willing to listen, understand, be kind, be compassionate, be empathetic, because it's a journey, and that journey has to be made pleasant. So I'm of the opinion that while technology will be excellent support systems,
Right.
will not and should not replace the human doctor. And if the healthcare industry can understand this nuanced nature of a hybridized existence between clinical skills, compassion, empathy, and technology, then the future is very bright for healthcare. I don't think that we will ever eradicate disease because we have now got more new diseases coming up in the last 3 years, despite technology. Right. However, we will have enough tools to override them and give the best that we can to the large number of patients, especially in India, where 70% of people do not have access to healthcare and cannot afford it, and it's out-of-pocket expenditure. So cost of healthcare is also very important. And one of my passion is to promote cost-effective healthcare, even from where I am in my company that, is very conscious socially about the social needs of the people, is to create models that can sustain this kind of socially sensitive, need-based, cost-effective healthcare with the assistance of appropriate, compassionate technology.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that information, sir. Sir, with your experience in the C-suite, you wish to continue your spree of contributions in a directorship position. How have you planned this out?
Well, honestly, I do not know. But I can tell you that once you have reached this position of being in the apex or wherever you are, you're always a leader, whether you have a position of director or not. You need not have a designation of a director or a chief medical officer, but by virtue of your seniority and your experience and your own passion, right, you have probably reached the apex of the Maslowian pyramid, which is about self-actualization. Right. And what you derive fulfillment is to continue that leadership approach, even if you're sitting at home, to help people and to advise people when you're called to handhold people who need help, to be a mentor, in whatever way you can do to continue that leadership role, I will do it. That's my passion.
Wow. Dr. Chandy, your willingness to contribute as much as possible is really commendable. As you have chosen Directors Institute to gain knowledge for your boardroom transition, how has your experience been so far with us?
Rajesh, I am on 3 boards of non-profit organizations, which has been a trigger for me to understand boardroom dynamics a little closer.
Right.
So, dealing with these 3 kinds of organizations, all are not for profit, all are into healthcare, has given me a perspective on what I know and what I do not. So, one of the things that I look forward to through this course is to understand the science of it, very similar to me wanting to understand the science of administration and doing an online course in management.
Right.
Similarly, I hope and pray that my interaction and my exposure to this and various other experts on the Directors Institute forum will give me enough of knowledge to contribute to organizations for better governance, because there is a need for good governance in all our systems in the country, whether it's medical or non-medical, to bring ethics and good practices in boardroom governance and make it very, very useful and very productive for the country that we serve in. So far it's been good. I've been a little slack on the requirements, but I will catch up because I'm traveling and I'm also busy, but that's no excuse. But I will catch up, and so far it's been an enabler. Thank you.
Completely understandable, sir, and I'm 100% sure that the follow-up from our team, that is also intense, and that follow-up will ensure that you complete all your course material on time, sir.
Thank you very much. That's good.